I do apologize if you hear any vibrational vroom noises. Those are notifications that'll be coming in, so I do apologize about that in advance. Hey guys, welcome to the Anime Girls Profile Confidential 142. And this is a very interesting one because, first of all, I gotta give a shout out to Chris Lee Moore, otherwise known as Rowdy C, also known for Rowdy's Reviews, as well as mostly known for TV Trash. It's a YouTube show, review show, I should say, that he's been doing for the past decade or so on YouTube. He's also been doing it through VENMO. He's been doing it through OneDrive, which is a Google, of course, a Google Drive, if you will, Cloud Drive, if you will, for you to save stuff in. So as well as share it if you want to. So he's been doing it through a variety of places, and some of his reviews he can only do, as I've mentioned before, he can only do by placing his logo in front of the image so he doesn't get in copyright trouble. Sometimes he won't do that because I'm sure he has, pretty much, affirmed that, he's not going to, he might get in trouble, but it's not going to be too bad because, everything else is blocked. Well, not blocked, but, blocked by his logo, I should say. But this one in particular, I got to give him a shout out because he's been re-uploading his 2012, 2013 Summer Spectacular episodes where he, focuses on a theme. And the theme that he had for that year was TV specials or TV shows based on comic strips, newspaper comic strips. And one of the more recent ones he uploaded yesterday, because today is Sunday the 22nd, and yesterday was Saturday the 21st of September 2024. But the one he uploaded or re-uploaded yesterday on September 21st of this year, or this month I should say, was on the classic Beetle Bailey. Now, he didn't talk about the Beetle Bailey primetime special that came out in the 80s, no. He talked about the one done by King Features back in the 1960s. You see, back in the 1960s, King Features, who is still prominent today when it comes to the comic genre in newspapers, King Features also wanted to dive into television. And they started off by doing this with Popeye. They did this with Popeye and everything. And then they decided to venture, further out. They decided to venture further out, and they acquired the licenses. Well, I guess they had the licenses, period, but whoever else owned the rights to the characters, they acquired the licenses from them to adapt into television shows. And one of them was Beetle Bailey And Friends. And it was basically separated into three shorts. Three, I think 11-minute, well, I wouldn't say 11-minute, but I'd say 3 7-minute shorts. One of them was on Beetle Bailey and his crew. The other was based on another character that debuted back in the 1930s, 1910s, something like that. And kind of like with Popeye was, not the main character at first, but basically became the main character later on. And then there was another one they focused on. There was another one called Krazy Kat. And what's interesting about Krazy Kat is, the original creator of this character, when asked specifically what gender this character was, and this is a concept that he came up with back in the 1910s. Because this character had, I guess you could say, a companion that basically never really saw eye to eye with them, called Ignac. He is a mouse who threw bricks at them. Now, the reason I bring that up is because, going back to what I said about, the creator not, being specific when asked like what gender Krazy Kat is. His response back then was, I guess, his own way of saying non-binary. That's right. He is, basically he said that the character is, and the word I don't think was used that much back then, if at all, but basically it's essentially non-binary, if you will. It's basically I wouldn't say transgender, but more along the lines of, how do I put it? Femboy. We'll put it that way. Femboy. And yeah, he didn't really give much of a straight answer. And it really was, and what was interesting is it really got confusing when they did some of the classic black and white shorts, because one of the things they would do back then too with some of these comic strips is they would do silent, if not vocal, black and white cartoons. And, sometimes they get them as far to the point that not only would you get sound, but you'd also get them in color. And Krazy Kat was one of those characters. Krazy Kat was one of those characters. But again, what was confusing, I'm sure of it, was while those were being shown in the theaters, the comic strip was still going on, and there was no decisive, I guess you could say, answer as to what gender Krazy Kat was. In the classic black and white cartoons, they said the character was male. Obviously, you had to get a male voice to do it, so that's what they went with. But before that, and even during those animated shorts runs, as far as the comic strip was concerned, nobody was really sure, because it's like, why would a male cat be very fond of a male mouse, throwing a brick at them and calling him a little angel? It's like, what's the reasoning here? What's the reasoning? Now, I'm sure it happened in the shorts, but I'm not really sure, because those are way before my time. I know they're on YouTube. You can find them there, and they're on DVD. But the point I'm getting at is, I don't know whether or not they were incorporated, because I think the Krazy Kat cartoons were more for something along the lines of being like a Felix, like a Popeye, focusing on Krazy Kat themselves, and Ignac would be in there maybe as a foil or something like that. I don't know. But what's interesting is when King Features decided to bring these characters back, basically 20 plus years after the comic strip ended, they changed things around in a big, significant way. Because what happened is they decided to, I guess, take the popular opinion that outside of the black and white cartoons, that were based on the strip, that they were going to, take what people saw from the strip as, their inspiration for their adaptation of Krazy Kat onto television. And that inspiration was to make Krazy Kat female. Now, what's interesting is when you first see Krazy Kat in one of the first cartoons they do, her design, or their design, depending on how you look at it, is very similar to the classic black and white and the comic strip, kind of close to it. But later on, they gave her more of a feminine look. Kind of like how, I know this is kind of a strange comparison to make, but kind of like how Hanna-Barbera basically took Cindy Bear's look in the original Yogi Bear cartoon, and changed it up from what we saw the first time, we saw her, to making, keeping the design just a bit to the end of the series, and then really just giving her a full-on makeover into the Cindy Bear we now know and love. Especially, and it's the design that still utilized, I should say, even in the hit show Jellystone. But as I said, as I was saying, that's basically what they did here. That's basically what they did here with Krazy Kat. Their first appearance, design looked identical to what you see in the comic strip, as well as the classic black and whites. But then to distinguish it as their own, they went full on female. Now you might say, well, why did they do that? Why would they make the character female and make her be fond of, being hit in the head with bricks as a sign of affection by this Igniac mouse? Why would they do that? And that's a good question, but I think that's where basically the title of the character and the name of the character comes in. She's crazy because she doesn't understand that he's not throwing the bricks to show affection. He's throwing the bricks because he doesn't like her. Period. Like, he might be buddy-buddy with her at times, but he doesn't like her any further than that, if at all. And what was always the comedic part of it is that you had this officer pup come in and always say to Ignac, "You keep doing this, you're going to jail." And a couple of times he would end up in jail. But he'd still find a way to throw bricks at Krazy Kat. But yeah, basically when it came to this series in the 1960s, as part of Beetle Bailey and Friends, they decided to, like I said, look at what everybody was pretty much pointing in the direction of, more so than what they saw with the black and white classic cartoons. And they said, we're going to go and, basically say she's female. Because I'm thinking in my opinion that, to them, back even then, it was very taboo to kind of go the LGBTQ route, especially with men. I mean, you hear all these stories of, actors and athletes trying to protect their spots, in Hollywood or in the sport they play in. They're trying their best to protect their spot by not having their, I guess you could say, coming out, situation come out publicly. Or their secret, I should say, coming out publicly to the world. They basically did what they could to protect that, to ensure that it wouldn't get out there, because if it did, it'd be hard for them to get work or get signed to a team or whatever. They might as well be blackballed, period. So obviously they realized that, well, it'd be strange if it's a male cat saying this to this male mouse. So let's switch it up. And let's make the cat what a lot of people, even 20 years prior to the show's debut, pretty much confirmed was the true gender, despite the change for the black and white cartoons. And that was to make the cat female. And again, it's strange to want to take a character like Krazy Kat, make them female, and make them kind of be like, oh, I love being hit by bricks. It shows affection and everything. And it's like, it's like, why would you want to, why would you want to do a cartoon like that? And, again, like I said earlier, it's a good question. But I guess that's always been the comedic part. It's always been the comedic part that, she's trying to, she doesn't understand that Igniac is not doing that, as I said earlier, as part of affection. He's doing that because he's basically angry with her for her stupidity, or just, trying to get it through to her, hey, I don't really like you in that manner that you think I do. But there are several cases, though, she tries her best to make him realize, hey, she has feelings for him, no matter what the situation. She even gets her cousins to help out. When there's a short, she has her cousin from France come in and try to help out. And if you were wondering whether or not she was female, Krazy Kat in these shorts were female, if you were always wondering about that, there was an episode where another cat come in. He's kind of, I don't know if he's the cousin or he's some kind of swordsmanship, wants to impress Krazy Kat. I think he might be one of her cousins, maybe. But, you know, basically the way he acknowledges her towards the end is when she asks how he likes the county they're in, the county they live in that he's visiting. And her cousin, who's a swordsman, a French swordsman and all that, apparently that's what her family is, all French, if you will, because this is not the only French cousin she has. But basically, his response is, my chérie, I love this view. I love the view even more. And when you hear him acknowledge Krazy Kat as my chérie, that's pretty much, if you had any doubt back then, whether or not this adaptation of Krazy Kat was female, there's your answer. There's your answer. And, I got to give a heads up to, Rowdy C on this, because even when he was viewing it, even you could tell even he was wondering back then, and probably even now, like, why would you even go and do this? Why would you even make a joke of a male throwing a brick at a female as funny? Even if the male is a mouse and the female is a cat. I don't get it. I don't get it. But anyway, though, yeah, Krazy Kat, to me, it's one of those discoveries that you just do not realize, you're going to be talking about and making part of the list, that you've been doing for a long time, like I've been doing this one, until you see exactly what others have to say about it. And I will say this. This is a cartoon that I do believe I saw back when I was a kid in reruns. I don't know if it was reran on WTBS or on Nickelodeon or in syndication. I think I may have seen it in syndication. And I may have seen it on not KTVU, which is now Fox 2, and not KBHK, which is now KBCW. But I think I may have seen it on KICU 36 or Coffee, KOFY. It was either KICU 36 or Coffee, KOFY 20, all out of San Francisco, San Jose. It may have been one of those. And, I was a kid, I didn't know. I was just watching it and enjoying it. But I do remember seeing it on a few occasions. I do remember that. And hear Rowdy C bring it up in this review he did 10 years ago. It does, again, I saw the character, I'm like, it's like something in my mind just went off and telling me, you've seen this character before. And just looking up some of the, just rewatching the review and then looking up some of the cartoons, I'm like, and information, I'm like, oh yeah, I have seen this character before. I have watched this character before. But again, it's just, one of those situations to where you find out about a character, you don't know whether or not you're going to talk about them, and you eventually do, and that's what I'm doing here with this edition of the Animated Girls Profile Confidential. Now, the question obviously is, there's actually two questions. We know that MeTV Toons has this animated antique, if you will, show coming out. Basically, a very rare cartoons that you don't see anymore. And I'm just curious if maybe we might get Krazy Kat as a part of that. I believe we will. Because if they're already talking about some other shows that have not seen the light of day on television officially in quite a long time, then I can honestly say that Krazy Kat could be among those lists in that animation antiques show that they got coming. I think it'll be one of those rarities they bring out. But we'll see. Now, the obvious question is, would Krazy Kat ever make a return, to television or to comic strips? I think Krazy Kat will. Well, I wouldn't say will, but I've got a feeling that we have so many talented artists out there and studios out there that want to have programming, they want to have material for the services, streaming services that is, that I think they will eventually license for something like Krazy Kat to get to get a revival. I mean, if we'll get an underdog coming back next year, not internationally and potentially over here on Peacock, here in the States, then I truly believe something like Krazy Kat could definitely make a return. But how would it be set up? Well, they might go the route that they're doing here. They might, but then again, in today's society, you never know. But I think they could find a way to work around that and everything, to where you could have Krazy, still feel affection for Ignac, despite him being oblivious. And I think you could give it more of a very Looney Tune-like, scenario, more so than King Features did. Because I don't know if in any of those shorts, honestly, because I look at that character of Krazy Kat, the female interpretation in these King Features shorts on the Beetle Bailey and Friends show. I don't know if this interpretation would ever melted or anything, because she seems like to be that kind of a character that would do it. I don't know if she ever melted. Let me know. But I think if Krazy Kat was to make a return, I think honestly, in this day and age, like I said, they could try to find a way to work around and keep the formula as is, but a little bit more suited for today's world, I should say. But I could see Krazy Kat for today, melting. I could see one of these situations where she feels like she's getting some affection from Ignac, to the point that next thing you know, you just see like a big, gooey puddle, bluish puddle or whatever on the ground, and just her face like floating on top of it or something. I could see that. Now, again, I don't know if she did that in the classic King Features. Let me know. But I could see that. I could see that happen to that character, to the Krazy Kat character, if they were to bring it back for a revival. And yes, I do believe they would definitely keep her female just for the heck of it. I truly believe that. I truly believe that they would keep her female just for the fact that, from an animation standpoint, that's the last, that was basically the way people saw her last. That is the way people saw her last. So I could see that all occurring. If anybody, Max, Peacock, Disney, well, maybe not Disney so much, but, Peacock, Max, Paramount, I could see them doing that. Amazon, I can see them doing it. But that's all I can really say on this edition of the Animated Girls Profile Confidential, number 142, on the female version of Krazy Kat from the Krazy Kat 1960s cartoon. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment down below, like the video, ring the bell for notification. Also, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out in a big way. Also, check out the Teespring store. Link is in the description at the bottom. Also, check out, and I do apologize for that vibration. That's a message from Facebook Messenger. But like I said, Teespring store link is at the bottom of the description box. Also, check out where you can find my content on places like DeviantArt.com at BVW1979. Check me out at Rumble.com at bwrosas. Odyssey.com at bwrosas. Twitch.tv at bwrosas. Kick.com at bwrosas. VENMO at bwrosas. Also, check me out at all your favorite audio and at times video podcast affiliates like iTunes, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, Audible, Pandora, Spotify for podcasters, and much more. But guys, give me your thoughts on what I had to say here, and that will do it for today's Animated Girl Profiles Confidential, number 142 on Krazy Kat.